What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the podcast, the Harbor Podcast, that is, starring your boy, Kino Cowboy, your other boy, Dylan Rodriguez, your other boy, Scott Keith. We're not talking about a new movie this time. We're talking about an old movie, and it's called Seven Samurai. Ever heard of it? I have, now that I've seen it. I'm going to say it right off the bat. The ending kind of felt like it was taken from Avengers Endgame a little bit. I didn't like it. Can't watch it really again, I don't think. I
I
don't know.
actually,
It just felt like everything's ripping off of Marvel these days, so I don't know.
I have a legitimate comparison to Endgame. I'm not even gonna
Oh,
lie. I wrote down some notes, just a little piddly thing.
Listen, I
anyway,
don't think that's a bad thing. Like, because this movie is so, it just shows how influential this movie is in the course
yeah.
of cinema history. Like, it's jokes to make it a comparison to like Marvel, but honestly, we
It,
wouldn't
it's
have
an- it's
modern
it's
blockbusters if it wasn't for this.
yeah, it's so archetypal. Hell, I was thinking that you can compare this movie to the new Mortal Kombat movie that came out, which let's not. But
It's one of those movies that I put off for a decade, and you try to like not let it be known to people that you haven't seen it. There are a few of those movies out there. Everyone has them. This is one of mine, and Scott, this is his first time watching it
it's
too.
one of mine too. It's one of those movies. Dylan
Dylan finally got us
had to
to
fucking
on it.
educate us.
After
Yeah.
like a year and a half of being like, let's fucking do this movie.
But yeah,
My time has come.
I just don't like reading subtitles.
I can't do it.
I don't
And
like
it's in black and white.
I don't even
man.
know how to read, so I kind of had to guess the whole time what was
There's
going
no,
on.
there's dude. It's 3 hours and there's no boobs. Like
Yeah.
it's down,
point of this movie?
down vote. Dylan, what's this movie about? It's called Seven Samurai. Are there any samurai in it?
No, it's funny. It's actually a bunch of westerns. A bunch of cowboys.
It basically is, or westerns are
funny.
basically this movie.
It inspired the Magnificent Seven, and
Yeah.
all sorts of bullshit. Anyways, yeah, it's about a town, a village. I mean, that is just being utterly destroyed by bandits and thieves. Like every year, they're basically the bitches for these raiders. Like they're getting totally fucked, and they enlist the help of samurai. And samurai basically at this point in like Japan's history, they weren't really fighting for the military. They were just all like guns for hire, basically, just kind of wandering. If you pay them well, they do a service.
The original Cowboys.
Well,
Yeah,
it was not to interrupt, but like it was a feudal system. They were similar to European knights, except if your lord died or whatever, because it was so many just warring like shogunates or daimos or whatever, and the emperor was kind of a puppet.
Yeah, it was like a military state. Like
it was fucked. It was pretty fucked, and this
Yeah.
movie showed it. It made you feel, but you had no work if you were unemployed. You just kind of had to wander around.
And like hope that your next meal would be in the next town for if they asked you to do something. It's really just like a give and take relationship with samurais and peasants. But I do like, and so anyways, before we get into it, yeah, it's about 7 samurai defending this village from bandits, and fun ensues.
Have you seen A Bug's Life? It's a Bug's Life.
Another movie that directly is inspired.
It's another movie. It's another movie that Seven Samurai fucking plagiarized from.
You can tell fucking Dave Filoni jerks off this movie because he does the fucking plot of this in the Clone Wars and also a little bit of it in the.
Well, he does Yojimbo in the Ahsoka episode, which that's its whole.
Yeah. But then also like
stuff.
that, there's an episode of Mandalorian where they teach the villagers to fight and all that. It's all. Everything's influenced by everything, but like you can tell.
Another influence is that George Lucas was directly influenced by not Seven Samurai, but The Hidden Fortress. That's literally almost A New Hope is almost a shot for shot, but in space remake of The Hidden Fortress.
Yeah.
So kind of like this movie and Akira Kurosawa as like a director, he kind of just permeated film culture, honestly, like more than most like directors, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's everywhere. It's crazy. He pretty much, people always say that Spielberg like invented the first blockbuster with like Jaws, or George Lucas with Star Wars, but honestly Seven Samurai to me is like the first actual like blockbuster movie, because this is such a fun movie and it doesn't take itself too serious, but then when it does, it really does. And
that was one of my biggest surprises, is that how much like lighthearted humor there was.
There's a lot of levity in this movie, and it's
hilarious.
But there's also some heavy shit and heavy moments. It's complex.
He didn't what I like about Kurosawa as a director is he doesn't compromise like the emotional core of his movies just for spectacle and fun. Like he likes both. He can do both. He wants to have both.
It's the entire spectrum of human emotion.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't limit himself. And this is something, again, as my first Kurosawa, I didn't feel him behind the camera. What I mean is I didn't feel his gaze, or it didn't feel indulgent in any way, like some directors, including directors I really like. And I think that's just because it's so foundational, but it's so old school, pitch perfect, classic black and white cinematography.
Oh my God, this is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my life.
But it does not call attention to itself.
No.
Like it's not, if you weren't somebody who had an interest in like filmmaking or film composition, a lot of the shots probably wouldn't stand out to you because it would work on just a subconscious level. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of the, even just some of the blocking and some of his use of foreground and background, it is so simple and subtle. And like it's almost even hard to talk about.
So used to it by now. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just perfectly done in 4:3.
I think this movie too is like you were saying how even someone who's not into film or like doesn't really look for like the special like certain shots, all these type of movements, to someone like that, because I've watched this movie with someone like that, they've been like, what is that? Like, because they notice there's something going on in a shot. They don't know what it is, but it looks really pretty, or there's something happening. And I feel like that's a lot of this movie where.
And can you give me an example? Like, who did you watch it with? Like your girlfriend or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay. You can say it. Dylan has a girlfriend.
I just know you get a little jealous over there.
It's okay. I mean, I'm the only one in this chat who doesn't, but that's fine. That's fine. But what like shots or like what's
the exact scene that she was like, wow, like what is happening here is the moment, I forget it's the young samurai who wants to be a part of the group, and they're like, please don't, you don't want to die. Like
Katsushiro, right?
Yeah, it's Katsushiro. He is like following the village girl, and they're in like the bed of flowers, and the light is like perfectly shining and reflecting off the flowers. And it's like he's in the background and she's in the foreground, and it's like this. It's like a painting, and I literally I froze the movie. I paused it, and we just like looked at that frame just for a few minutes.
It's great, and he's somewhat dark lighting, and there's all brambles, and it reminded me a lot of the forest scenes from the Seventh Seal a lot, actually.
Definitely,
just with the gnarled trees and stuff.
The way he uses like black and negative space is really, really nice.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I mean, it's really. I guess we can kind of get into just. How did you feel? So you guys knew nothing about this movie besides it's samurai,
Yeah, more. I mean, I knew the basic concept.
I knew the concept for sure. I knew
you get the gang together, you fight the bandits. I knew that.
Okay, so that being said, how did you feel about the first 30 to 35 minutes of this movie? You're just with these two stupid ass peasants who are afraid and they're scared. I think Rikichi and some other, I can't remember what the other one's name is. You're kind of with these peasants and there's a lot of it feels like it's wasting time, but it's not. It's really setting a lot of these relationships, I guess not wasting time, but very slow and deliberately paced,
Yeah. I did feel that. Here's the thing, because I know, I was waiting for this movie. I knew it was gonna go places, so I was patient. I did think I don't know. I don't know if I would recommend this movie to my family necessarily. Just because it is the first part of the movie while they're getting the game together. It is kind of slow, and you just have to go with it. And also, I think a lot of people, not only is it an older movie, it's a Japanese movie, and pacing is just completely different. And,
I think
I don't know. It didn't seem crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Adrian, you go ahead, because I feel like I'm going to agree with you.
No, it just seems like the natural progression of things. I like seeing them do what they try to do to get the very first samurai. I don't know. And then you get to know the main guy, the older samurai, the main guy.
Kanbei.
Which that is one of the best opening introductions.
And you see his willingness to to do what needs to be done by shaving his head and all that, you know.
Which is a big deal in samurai culture.
He basically
Yeah.
disavowed himself as a samurai. Like,
Yeah.
Just to like save that child, you know. That's all good shit to me. And then
No, it is. It's a
and
great
then yeah, so you know, I'm a grown man. I have patience. I can enjoy these things. I don't know.
and I think that moment specifically, that kind of like sets off everything, because not only are you getting introduced to him, you're getting introduced to Kikuchio, the crazy one with the big sword, because he's also there. Then at the same time, you're getting introduced to Katsushiro, the young one. And
Yeah.
they're not necessarily a part of the gang yet, but they're kind of in and out now. They're coming around, they're looking. And so they're all kind of like intertwining with each other slowly,
Yeah.
but like surely. And I love the way that kind of naturally like ingrains itself into the story, how these characters kind of come around naturally. Like once they get Kanbei, which and once they get him, the little tests that he does to get the samurai like walking in there, that's hilarious and it's great. Like I love the way,
yeah, simple, makes sense. I mean, you could do that in a stage play. You could do that same
And
thing.
then it comes back around when he hits the dude when he's drunk and like, you know.
Because he's not a real samurai.
Yeah.
But
let's also appreciate that Akira Kurosawa used the Zack Snyder aspect ratio and paid homage to Zack Snyder.
Yeah. I was gonna say that.
In 4:3.
Good for him.
Yeah.
to protect the artist's original intention.
Yeah, it's good to know that Kurosawa supports the Snyderverse.
I just the way it was shot and like the quality of like the film in like the 50s, it almost made it feel like I was like peering back in time and like watching it.
Yeah.
Like,
that is cool. One of the most more than almost any other movie, maybe more than any movie, I felt transported back in time. I really didn't feel like somebody got a camera into 16th century Japan. It was uncanny.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Kurosawa was so like game changing too. Is he was like, we're gonna get these shots. We're gonna make a whole village. Like it's not just gonna be sets. We're going out and we're gonna make these things. Like the scene where the whole bandit camp is on fire. He straight up didn't tell anyone, didn't warn anybody. He could like, if it wasn't like the 50s and no one gave a fuck, he could have gotten sued and thrown in prison because he legit.
But they were busy rebuilding their society from World War II. Yeah. So I'm serious. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
So they're like, who gives a shit about this guy in the mountains burning stuff? Was it not in the script? How could he not tell anyone?
No, it was in the script. I'm just saying the way they thought it was going to be more controlled than it was. Like, but Akira Kurosawa knew that, no, I'm lighting this entire thing on fire. And so, like, these people running away, like, oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so many stories about him just being like, nah, we're going to light this on fire. We're going to blow this up.
I was thinking that in some of the scenes with horses, where the horses are really, like, going wild and kicking around, I was thinking, like, you got, like, mics and grips and cameramen and extras, like, all around these, like, I mean, you ever been around a horse? They're big. They'll fuck you up.
They're scary as shit, dude.
Yeah. They're herbivores that'll fucking kill you. Especially a horse designed for battle. Like, those things are huge. And then jockeys are all, like, 3 feet tall. It's weird.
So, basically, you know, these two peasants, they kind of get the gang together, and it's like they get some. I love the samurai. I can't remember his name, but he's the one who's like the best sword fighter. You know, he's the one that introduction is fighting that guy. And oh my god, what a wonderful just way he composes the movement of those two samurai. So good. Yeah. So he gets, I think it's him. He gets the big guy, the big samurai, who I think his name is, what's his name? Chichiroji. Yeah. He's the bigger one. And then, so I think they have 5 at that point, which is Kanbei, the young one, Katsushiro, the Shichiroji, and then the really good sword guy. So they have 4, I believe.
Kyozo?
Yes, Kyozo, yes.
Okay. I got IMDb pulled up. We said before we started recording that we're going to have trouble with these names. So just letting you know.
Mm-hmm.
We're not racist. We're just stupid.
Yeah, I've seen this movie a million fucking times, and I still have trouble remembering their names.
Dude, I still watching like The Godfather for the third time. I'm like, who are these fucking gabagool motherfuckers? I don't remember.
The biggest takeaway though, so they're getting everybody together, but the biggest takeaway is Kikuchio, he's not accepted into the band. Like he's drunk and he's there, and they start making fun of him because he has this like, this is who I am, and it's clearly fake. His sword is way too big, and they're just like, go to bed, you drunk bastard.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But the big thing is once they have the band together, he just follows them. And I love the way where you get this whole like montage of them walking back to the village, and he just is constantly right there. He's kind of like being a crazy person.
They're all like, God damn it.
They're like, God damn it, but gradually they're like, where'd he go? Like, he's not there.
I was unsure about how I felt about this guy until he sounded the alarm and all the villagers came out and he got them to come all out and he's like, what's up, bro? It was me. That's when I was like, okay, I like this guy a lot.
No, he could, in a lesser movie, he would have been like Kano in Mortal Kombat. No, in a lesser movie, he would have been like annoying comic relief. But
he is such a complicated character. He's honestly
very
like
complicated and very well
freaking. Yeah, I think the moment that gets me jumping a little bit ahead is whenever he has the bandits are raiding this place. They have everything, and he saves the kid, or the mom is coming out. She's dead basically, but she has the kid in her hands, and she's like, "Please save him, get him away." And he just is like there, stuck. And he says something like, "This was me. I was that kid."
Yeah, that took me by surprise.
Yeah, that's all you need to know about where he comes from, what he is, and it gives me shivers even just like talking about that.
Yeah.
Moment.
And what's weird, that's almost a subversion, even though this is such an archetypal film. Obviously, it's in response to earlier samurai films, which I haven't seen. But and is a more, I guess, in Kurosawa's eyes, realistic depiction, probably, and less heroic, it's more three-dimensional morally,
Oh yeah, samurai movies weren't like this. They were just like, hey, samurais kill people,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it is, I mean, and obviously you could argue propagandistic for Imperial Japan. Heavily. So this is a very progressive movie in a lot of ways, and we'll touch to that on that later. But even that's subversive, saying that Kikuchio, like in so many movies, I feel like you have like, okay, so this person was hit by tragedy and they became this badass warrior, whether it's like The Bride and Kill Bill. I don't know if that's the best example, but like whatever movie you could think of. And this almost, I don't even know if it's intentional or not, deconstructs that by being like, if you have this childhood trauma, you might grow up to be a badass, but you're going to be a fucked up drunk badass.
Yeah.
Who's not like stable, I mean, you're gonna be more of a Rorschach than Batman, you're gonna be out there.
But but it's that, but it's also at the same time, at the end of the day, he just wants to be good and he wants to fight. He's crazy and he has trouble adjusting to like people, but all he wants to do is like live a noble life.
He's chaotic good, bro. Chaotic good.
He's the definition of chaotic good. Really crazy.
Probably my favorite character of the film, honestly.
No, like I said, he's my favorite. He's like the heart and soul of the movie to me.
I also really like the young guy who wants to be a samurai.
Katsushiro,
yeah.
I like, Heihachi, who's just the leader. He's the brains of the operation.
Man, I knew I'd like this movie because I like archetypal shit like this,
Oh wait, you talking about Kanbei, like the old guy with no hair?
Not Heihachi. Kanbei.
Heihachi is the one that dies.
He's one of the more lighthearted guys. And then when he dies, it gets fucking fucks with me. And that's a tonal shift in the movie. That's also one thing I appreciate about this movie. Spoilers for a movie from 1954 is that 4 of the 7 samurai die. The majority of them die, which is kind of refreshing because that's what would happen.
It's heartbreaking. It's like because it doesn't God, we're gonna jump right in real quick, but that moment of them looking on at which that's a wonderful shot of the swords, but they look up and then they look back at the village and the village is just like happy, another day. We didn't really honestly give a shit about your story. We just needed help.
Yeah.
but so it's like this really, really bittersweet ending. Like even the girl that Katsushiro was kind of like, they were a thing. She's like, nah, I'm doing my thing now. We're going, you go away.
Yeah.
Really heartbreaking.
Which is heartbreaking. I mean, it's the end of the Sengoku period of Japanese history. According to Wikipedia, I'm looking at. But no, it's the end of that era. You know, I mean, that era ended in 1615, and this movie takes place in like end of the 16th century. So you know.
Going back to Kanbei and like the archetypal like leader, when he makes his plans and you see him drawing and like getting the guys.
Oh yeah,
together.
I love that shit. I live for that kind of shit.
It is like a heist movie. It's like the Ocean's 11 of samurai movies.
You get Kikuchio
gotta
like
get the gang together. They got a short little Chinese guy and an acrobat in a box.
Well, it's such a good movie because it even humanizes some of the stupid ass like peasants in a village that you like initially hate, like the scared ass old man that's like an asshole the entire movie.
God,
and then he dies like trying to fight because
I do respect that. But some of like the scenes with like the screaming women, dude, that just gets a little too much.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like ADR'd in. It's like they had to get like stock audio of screaming women.
I know these people are peasants, but it's like, look at the bigger picture here. Quit fucking screaming, dude. Get back to what you need to be doing. God damn.
Well, that being said, Kurosawa is a very like theatrical director. I mean, the way he blocks scenes is very like stage play sometimes.
Yeah. In an excellent way though.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, what I was surprised was that we never got like a big bad on like on the bandit side to like get to know, like kind of like a leader or something to like. I was expecting like a showdown between like some, like the leader of the bandits between one of the samurai or something. That's not even something that even happens.
No, they just all kind of fight each other. Like,
you get the one with an eye patch, so you know he's a bad guy. And they're gonna have more.
I guess I would say he is like the leader because he has the big armor too, but you don't really know him. You don't really care about him. It's about the samurai, honestly.
That is something. I mean, it's a morality tale, and they're pretty. It's black and white in that sense. The bandits are evil. They're bandits. They're raiding peasants for their meager grain. They're so poor they're like begging for white rice. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
No, dude, they're begging for millet. That is over.
I had to look that up. I didn't even know what that was.
It's just a grain.
Yeah, fucking shit. Horrible.
It's like below oatmeal,
So many little character moments that like add up to like a big picture. Like what'd you say the young guy is? The wannabe samurai?
Katsushiro.
Okay. When he just quickly just throws the peasants some money when they lost the rice and shit, I was like, oh yeah, what a nice guy. Just little moments like that. I'm
very small.
Well, it's not even nice guy too. It is nice guy, but it's also like, hey, I want to fight. So
he wants to be a part of this, but also,
it's out of like pity and like, which talk about the levity in some of those moments. The fucking people that are staying at that inn that are just caked in like charcoal and have
fucking look like cavemen, dude.
Yeah,
dude, the one he has like a unibrow and like I can't tell if it's like charcoal or his beard. Yeah, that was almost too that. It works because he's the only character like that, but like that was almost too much.
That's hilarious though. It's just like
it's like something I'd see in an SNL sketch, but it's gross.
I think it's great too. We talk about the levity because it's such a fucking whiplash. It's fun. People are getting in the gang together. It's like this is gonna be nice, and then as soon as the first one dies, it's like, oh no, this is real. People are about to start dying.
It does kind of show you how. I mean, in Kanbei, excuse me. He says it's like they're only able to pay people in food, and it makes you think of how desperate these samurai were for work. Because here's something I learned, and I didn't know this about the caste system back then in Japan. Like if you were a samurai, you pretty much weren't allowed to be a farmer. It's not like you could retire and get another job or like start blacksmithing. The caste system was strict enough where if your daimyo or whoever died and you were out of a job, you kind of just had to be a ronin and wander. which is why there were so many, because they literally had no other option in that society.
We had to have like an honorable death, like the Bushido.
Which is why, I mean, which is why, what's her name? Shino?
Yeah.
Her romance with Kikuchiyo is so important because he's samurai and she's farmer. Which I did read that it was actually not illegal for women to marry into other castes. It was just very rare.
Very weird and like looked down on. Like
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this is a very Western perspective. I feel like samurai is a step up from farmer, but that's just me. I see more samurai costumes in Halloween Express. But the or even hell, freaking no, not Kikuchiyo. I'm getting all these names confused. You know what I'm talking about? Drunk guy who's not really a samurai, but he's a peasant. But he kind of becomes a samurai. I mean, his whole character is almost a refutation of the caste system.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very Akira Kurosawa. Like that's a lot of his real world feelings at that time.
Yeah, he seems like a very for the time for. I mean, honestly, if you look at 1954 in American cinema, it was very conservative. You know, it wasn't until probably late 60s, you know, when we started getting, you know, your Coppolas and people like
fucking
that.
50s American films as a whole, I think, are way lamer than the rest of the world at the time.
It's funny you say that because literally Akira Kurosawa. So little facts about his life growing up.
Yeah,
his brother was a projectionalist at a theater growing up, and they showed a lot of Western movies. And it was funny. So Kurosawa was inspired heavily by movies by like John Wayne, you know, Billy Wilder and John Ford, all those. And it was funny because in Japan at that time, like the people of Japan were like, he's too forward. He has too much Western value and sentimentality in his movies, which is amazing because to me, our movies at that point, I agree, are like so fucking lame compared to what was happening in other places.
Yeah.
But it's weird how those movies were like, oh no, this is
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I've seen so many like 50s like westerns that are just like a dime a dozen dollar store bullshit. And I'm like, why do like people like my grandparents like love these so much?
I avoid a lot of it. I fortunately enough, I guess.
Well, he would just have them on, so I'd be sitting in the living room, watching, you know, just but it's just like, dude, because like I think about like Godzilla and like Seventh Seal, some of my favorite movies from elsewhere outside of the world from the 50s. It's like those are like so profound and progressive with their ideas and like concepts.
No, dude, it's definitely. I mean, it waxes and wanes, but there's that definite. Every country has its own strain of it, but that definite American strain of anti-intellectualism was fucking rampant in the 50s.
We had to
leave it to Beaver shit.
Mm-hmm.
better dead than red.
Yeah,
America good.
Don't think about the world.
No.
Yeah.
And then Japan's like, hey, fucking nuclear annihilation, giant lizards.
Yeah.
We just got our shit rocked.
Yeah.
Europe was like
how do you guys feel about the way the action was filmed in this? Because I think it's so crazy how well it holds up to me. It's like the big battle sequences and shit like that. It's astounding to me that
the amount of pre-production and the amount of choreography that goes into it is pretty astounding.
Yeah.
And just choreographing all these people and how his ability to frame a shot at a distance, like a wide shot, distance shot, long shot, and then just be able to have everybody on the mark. God knows how many takes he took for some of these things.
He was called the Emperor on set. So you can imagine how he worked as a director.
I mean, there's no other way to make this movie though.
Mm-hmm.
Is you have to do it his way or it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, at a movie of this scale, given the technology this time, given the environment they were shooting in literal mud, like
dude, the element. That's the thing I wanted to get into. The way he shoots, like the elements, like the rain, the wind, the mud. You really feel like you're there because it is just that mud whenever they're slopping around at the end there, like free for all, they're falling down and slipping. It's brutal.
There's even a scene where like she's running, and then as she runs by, a big like gust of dust kicks up behind her, and I almost wonder, like, did they have a fan off camera that they had it timed to exactly to just gust air as she was walking by, and
That's exactly what they did.
Did they? Yeah, I believe it.
They had like multiple huge fans that they would have right off screen that would just be blowing as soon as they cross like a little marker, basically.
Right, and and so much of that is just because again, I think of American movies from the 50s, and everything's really obviously on a sound stage, and like the matte paintings in the background, some of which I like, but so it just depends. Sometimes they're fucking lame, sometimes they're cool. Yeah. But it's almost better if you just kind of admit it's a matte painting and lean into it.
Exactly, like trick your brain into thinking, oh yeah, that's not real, but I enjoy it.
Like, that's not real, but I'm gonna make this look cool because I know it's not real, or just like having enough to like be in the background and be minimalistic. But like, don't try to trick me into thinking it's real. Yeah, it's great.
I think the moment too of where Kikuchio, which one was it for you? Whenever he rings the bell, and that's the moment that got you like, oh, I like this guy.
Yeah.
By that time, I was like, all right, he's a little asshole. He's kind of fucking around, but he's still like getting there. And he's like, hey, you guys got to be ready. I'm here. But the moment that gets me, I'm like, holy shit, this is like a true like protagonist hero, is whenever Heihachi dies and they're mourning him on the hill, and he's like, fuck. And he just grabs the banner and runs and you see the camera just tracks him as he's running all through the village, and he gets on top of the roof and he sets it down like that. And then you get that wide of him with the flag, and then in the background looking up at him. It's like, and then the fucking and like that theme starts playing. Ooh,
there's several tracking shots with people running. It's like so smooth for a film from that time. I was so impressed.
It's incredible.
Like there's like no Steadicam yet. It's so crazy how they got those shots.
Yeah.
I knew this movie, talking about this, would turn into mainly just talking about Akira Kurosawa, because
that's fine.
It's just like so many things that are done in this movie are like actually game changing to me as movie going experiences go.
Yeah. They are, without a doubt. And also, this is probably the first. It probably wasn't playing everywhere. This is probably the first big Japanese movie that got a lot of play in the West. This and Godzilla, the same year. But I don't know, which is interesting from like hell, you even gotta think when this came out, like this was in a weird way.
The difference though is that Godzilla had American scenes added in.
Exactly. And that this is pure Japanese. And it's almost good PR for the country in a way. Like it does feel like a country healing in its own way.
I agree. It's very much like dealing with actual trauma in the world. Like a lot of characters represent like the old and the new, and just that whole what was happening in Japan at that time. He was very much informed by what was actually happening in Japan at that time.
Well, right. Even the fact that like you don't really see this a lot in movies from the 50s, but like you see premarital sex in this movie, and it's not really portrayed all that negatively compared to how it could be. Or a lot of the characters are like,
they're like, stop slut shaming, you asshole, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Or kind of like, why are you worried about your daughter's virginity when there's bandits with muskets pointed at us? Like,
what the fuck?
She's damaged goods. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Her dad, in one hand, I get to an extent her dad being like, no, cut your hair. If they see you, they will rape you and kill you. Like, you cannot be known. But at the same time, once he does see that it's like, no, they kind of love each other, just like, chill the fuck out, man.
Yeah.
And it's, in his defense, pregnancy was a lot bigger risk and a lot more complicated back then than it is now. I mean, really, it's just like you could die during childbirth. That's another mouth. You're already starving. Like, it's a big deal.
Let's go back to like, I liked how they kind of painted the village. You got to know a few of the characters, like the old man who's like a total fucking coward that fights basically at the end and dies. You got the dad and the daughter, and then it's one of the ones that go to find the samurai at the beginning. It's not Rikichi. I think it's like the other one, and he's the one that his wife has been taken. That's where they go, or that's what they go to do whenever they set the whole thing on fire. But you don't really know why he's so angry at everybody, and people are giving him jokes like, "Hey, like, why don't you get some women, get a wife?" And he's just like, he's very like standoffish and angry at a lot of things, angry at samurai, angry at everything, and you don't know why until they go, and I believe you don't even know why they're going or why he wants to go whenever they do raid the bandits' place. They're going to like raid it and scout basically. And I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe it's just him who's like, I need to find my wife in there. And what's even fucking more heartbreaking is his wife sees him, chooses not to come out because she's so ashamed by what's happened to her, not of her own choice, that she goes in and kills herself.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up if you really think about that whole arc of a character.
Yeah, which I was actually kind of trying to think of like why she would freak out that much. But yeah, I guess it's just shame. And just like I've become cattle, basically. Yeah. And another thing, they actually made me, I didn't even realize it because this is my first walkthrough. Was that the same guy who at first Kikuchiyo was joking about the dress in his hut, and he was like, it's not that bad when you have a wife to curl up against. And he was like, I don't have a wife. Yes, okay, that's the same guy. Mm-hmm. Good. All these people, I will say, and it's historically accurate, which is fine, but everybody in this movie has the exact same haircut almost, where it's like mostly bald in the front. It's like a samurai mullet. It's like you have hair in the back and then a top knot, but the front is like completely shaved. So like sometimes the character, and it's in black and white. So like
the fucking bald caps were distracting at some points, but
or Kanbei, like the one who cuts off his top knot, towards like the back end of the movie where he starts getting dirty, you can definitely see like underneath his little cap, like the mud and shit that's getting under there.
Yeah,
and Katsushiro, where it's like, yeah, dude, why would a young like 20-something cut his hair for a movie like that? Hell no.
Yeah, you didn't know it was going to be the biggest movie.
Yeah,
I don't know, just do it. It's for a movie. Why not?
I don't know, do it. Screw it.
I do like how we're talking about like just informing the character. So another tidbit about what Kurosawa would do is he tells actors, all right, I want your character to have a certain trait so that no matter what, if they see you from the back, if they see you from far, they know, oh, that's that character.
Yeah.
So you had Kikuchiyo, played by Toshiro Mifune, who just is so good. He's always doing this when he walks. He's like doing that. You had Kanbei, who, because he cut his hair, he's always, when he's thinking about something, he's rubbing his head. Whenever he's contemplating something, he's rubbing his head. Whenever he's nervous, he's rubbing his head. It just goes to show those little like mannerisms and like this very specific details and what this guy wanted from his actors and from his movie.
But it's amazing almost how simple like some of this technical stuff is, like, oh, give each of the characters a trait. But how many writers and directors they do that and then they don't add on to it, and then
that's just their character.
Yeah. That's just their character. And like he's like, no, I made a character with an arc and a personality and a backstory, and then I gave the actors something else to distinguish them by for the audience.
Exactly.
Because people don't understand that.
It's because they think characters are like quips. Oh, that's the character. They do
quip, dude.
You know, or that dude, you know, screams or whatever. Really loudly.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to, you know, you were saying that they all have the same haircut. The only one who doesn't is Kikuchiyo, because he's a peasant. He just has nappy ass hair going everywhere.
I will say one thing about the battle scene that I wanted to bring up is how well, look, films are all about showing relations in physical space through time, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how many action movies and how many battle scenes in movies almost forget to establish what the physical space is.
Keep going. Yes.
And like it's astounding, actually. And It's like when I play a first person shooter video game and they make the shooting not feel good. And I'm like, what are you doing? But it's like they don't establish like where the actors are and like what their environment is. So you just see these two bodies like slapping into each other like you're banging GI Joes together on the playground.
Yeah.
And then that's what it feels like
No,
sometimes.
that is my biggest like complaint for so many movies is
Yes.
sense of placement and spacing.
Establish shit, yeah.
Yeah, you
Just
got
establishment. It doesn't, dude. American action movies are fucking bad about that.
I know
They're
fucking,
like
I
Hong
hate it.
Kong cinema from like 80s and 90s. It kicks the shit out of us,
I agree,
literally and figuratively. Okay.
I mean,
And
they spend like 20 minutes of the movie literally telling you, all right, so this is the north side of the village, this is the west, this is the east, this is the south. The north looks like mountainous. The west has like lakes or little paddies.
yeah, and then they say it more than once.
Yes, they reiterate it, and it's not just for exposition's sake. They're going through the plan together of what they're going to do. So
and then also, and you're able to build character with that, and also remind the audience. Not that and it's not in a way that's talking down to the audience, and is very like because you're weaving in character moments into the exposition instead of just condescending to the audience. But then also, that is a lot of information. There's a lot of information in this movie, and so they have to make it palatable. So they have to repeat shit, which is good. And because like sometimes movies are afraid to do that, which I understand, but like. It's not this overproduced producer notes on this page. You need to set this information. But then, like, how many movies, and this is where the in-game thing is. In-game, I realized, was a CGI jerk fest. Let's, like, jerk off with our money.
I was going to use that as an example of, like, where anything is in that movie.
No, because it's just like, here's the bad guys, and it's a flat battlefield, and these two armies are clashing into each other. And then you have, I was even thinking something as simple as, like, not really simple, but like Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings Two Towers, it's like, okay, it's like, here's a physical space, and here's a bridge, and here's a little culvert, like, and that way you're able to have action beats in the script according to physical location. What is happening is each location instead of just like people crashing into each other over
and moments that like inform the characters, like the moment knows Gimli off the bridge and like you know exactly where everything is.
Dude, so many like blockbuster movies nowadays, the action scenes almost feel like the fucking fight scene from Anchorman, where it's all the fucking news channels just going at it, but not as good. It's ridiculous. I'm sure I could think of more examples, but it's just it's a three-dimensional
first part of the Godzilla versus Kong fight in Hong Kong. You don't get a sense of place. Figure out where they are and what they're doing.
That's a big problem. It's a big problem in that movie.
That's a very recent example, but that's one of my biggest gripes from that movie.
Yeah, for sure. They don't establish what's happening. It's insane that they don't do that.
It's just like the fundamentals of like what makes a thing a thing. It's been like lost. It's like lost in translation, not from out of like ignorance of the translation. It's out of just like, oh no, we gotta go. We gotta get. Who gives a fuck about where they started? I need them to end it. We gotta get this money back. You know, we gotta get these hours in for all the CGI.
No, it's infuriating. It's so many action.
It's I guess though I get so mad too when I see movies that came out in the goddamn 50s that just take the time to just, even though the technology is not nearly as advanced.
I think that's why. I think they had to take the time.
Yeah.
I think digital filmmaking is amazing, but I think a lot of it is like because you don't have to worry about film stock and because you can fix so many and do so many things in post.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, does that become a crutch and you like lose some of your fundamental filmmaking or like get lazy with it? And I've never directed a film, so I don't fucking know. I've never directed a student film. So I don't know. I do think that's a problem. I remember talking to my dad, who's not a film professor, but he was in the mass communication building because journalism. So he was like with the film majors, and I was on the school paper minor, so I was around film students all the time and would like talk to them.
You're right.
He was relating to me like they had this like student film festival at my alma mater, and like it was one thing is like the films would get bloated, you know, it's like we'd be like, okay, it has to be 5 minutes or under, and it'd be like 5.5 or like 6 minutes. And like the faculty straight up said they think it's becoming an increasing problem now that people can just like shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot however much they want with digital. And then like a certain point, like it pays to be economical. And film, you know, you're a broke film student, you're subsisting off nothing but fucking Miller High Life and ramen. Like, yeah, film stock's expensive, so you got to plan out your shots.
It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not somebody who's like really romantic about like film. I've never shot on a film camera ever. I mean, I've shot on like a VHS, but never, you know, I've never shot a film reel. I'll be honest, unless I'm looking for it, I'm not a super AV guy. I'm not a super know the ins and outs of technical filmmaking like Adrian, or maybe you can. But like, I have to be looking for the difference between film and digital, honestly, at this point, because digital's gotten so good. You know, if you set me 2 clips side by side, I might be able to tell you the difference, but I'm not really thinking about it when I watch a movie.
I mean, at this point, there are great VSTs and plugins that literally mimic the grain effect without going over. It literally looks like a film camera, but it's digital. Yeah. So yeah, I get that. But at the same time, I guess what it is too is like, it's just that it just doesn't, because I have shot on like 8mm before, and you feel like it's sacred because, oh God, I'm going to run out. I'm going to run out of this. I have to use it to its best potential. And it's that like cautiousness, which is going back into the carefulness of like, you know, going back to the movie of like, yeah, we have to have everything down.
Right. And you're thinking of composition and also of beats and the script writing and what you're going to edit instead of just let's film a bunch of shit and then mash it together in post.
Exactly.
Damn,
I love this movie.
Yeah, it's good. I wish I spoke English, but you know.
Conveniently I bet somewhere out there's like an English dub, like a shitty English dub.
Oh, why would you?
Did you have a nice break on the intermission? Did you have a nice sit while you just thought about the first half of the movie?
It is weird. I went and like made a real quick like mini oven pizza real quick. And then I was like watching all these starving peasants while my American ass was like shoving it. I ate 2 mini pizzas today. I made a mini pizza at the beginning of this movie and then one at the intermission.
Damn, dog.
Like, I'm sad. And these people were like begging for rice the whole movie.
The whole movie, they just wanted rice, man. That's all they wanted. So that being said, this was both you guys' first like round go through. What would you say were your feelings as a whole, basically, like not even getting into the nitty gritty, just like as a whole?
I wanna watch more Kurosawa for sure. I wouldn't mind seeing this. I'll give it a while, but I wouldn't mind seeing this movie again. It is one of those movies. This movie is hard to go into because it's fucking 7 Samurai. It's like your first time watching Citizen Kane or something, and you're going into it and you're like, I don't know if I should expect everything or nothing or what I should be. I was pleased. I understand why it's so important.
Yeah, you always have that thought. It's like, okay, this has been hyped up for years. Is it gonna live up? You know?
Yeah, and I would say more or less, yeah, this does. Was I absolutely blown away by it? Like, I wouldn't say this is like a top 10 favorite all-time movie for me. Personally, not talking about like technical filmmaking crap, but like personally.
Oh, just as a story, as a film itself. Yeah.
But like no, this is great movie.
I think this is a movie too, at least in my personal experience of it. The first time I watched it, I was kind of like you, Scott, where I was like, all right, I don't know what I was expecting. I try to keep my expectations low because it's an old movie and I know it's so praised, blah, blah, blah. I think this is a movie where, sit on it for a bit, watch it again. I think it gets better with each time you watch it.
I believe that.
You get more out of it. You get more, because you kind of understand the basic beats of the story at this point. You can kind of focus more on like the small moments.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that even while watching it. Because your first time watching, there's just so much going on.
So much going on, yeah.
I mean, there's 7 samurai, and that's just the samurai, and they're all main characters, kind of.
I'd like to see it in theaters.
Oh my God, yes, dude. Oh my God.
I just don't understand why there weren't 7 films one for each samurai building the character up before we get the 7 Samurai finale. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's a lost cause.
I don't know, man. They could have had like streaming series spinoffs.
Yeah, man.
Ichigo origin story.
Yeah, reboots, characters getting wished back with Dragon Balls, like all sorts of shit.
I want Peasant #2 Disney Plus show.
Yeah, I really think it's good for storytelling to explain everything.
Yeah.
Like in utter sickening detail and leave nothing to imagination. I fill in every gap, get rid of every sense of mystery. Tell me exactly what Obi-Wan was doing on Tatooine, fucking jerking off and fucking Jawas in the ass or whatever.
Yeah, man, we need a movie that's set 30 years after Seven Samurai, and it'll be called Three Samurai, and then like they'll get like two youngins that are like on the run from like bandits to like join up.
Oh, and then it's like and then they have to do it to the next generation. They have to pass it on.
Yeah,
like Ghostbusters or Force Awakens
or Bill and Ted 3 in the last 5 years.
It's making fun of this. It's funny because Yojimbo is another movie that Kurosawa directed, and it's about a lone samurai entering into a town basically and saving the town. The studio was like, "Hey, you gotta make another fucking one of these movies," and Kurosawa was like, "Fuck," and so he made a sequel. So they were franchising from the 50s, man, in the 60s. They were doing isn't not a new thing.
Isn't Yojimbo the name of a? Yeah, Usagi Yojimbo is the name of a anthropomorphic rabbit in the Ninja Turtles universe.
Yeah, really, Yojimbo is based off of Yojimbo, the samurai from Yojimbo.
Are you sure?
I swear to God, dude, I'm serious.
I don't know, man.
Bro, I'm serious. Like the rabbit Yojimbo, I know exactly what you're talking about. They
Dude,
took.
I'm pretty sure the Italian artists were based off the turtles too.
I'm just telling you, man.
Leonardo, Raphael. Wait. Ronaldo. No, let me tell you. Okay.
These are the Teenage Mutant Latino Turtles.
Side note, real quick. I was bowling a few weeks ago, and I overheard this girl and her boyfriend arguing, and she was like trying to name the Ninja Turtles. She's like Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Ronaldo. And the boyfriend was like, "It's not Ronaldo." And she's like, "Well, then what is it?" And he's like, "I can't remember, but it's not Ronaldo." She's like, "It's Ronaldo, dumbass."
Dude, how quickly would you break up with a woman if she kept insisting that?
It was just like
knowing that she had Google on her phone.
So sure. She was so sure. She's like, "It's Ronaldo,"
Dude, that's the funniest thing is when people are so sure.
I had half a mind to go over there, but it was too funny. I was just like, "No, I'm just gonna let it be." And the poor guy, his face, he just couldn't remember Raphael. It was really funny.
Come on, Raph, baby, my favorite one.
But anyway,
dude.
Also, side tangent before we finish up the Seven Samurai conversation. You see that Kevin Feige was amazed that Chloe Zhao wanted to shoot on real location,
and she shot it like, and he's like, "Wow, this is all in camera." And it's like, yeah, you can do that.
Oh my God!
Talking about like what it takes to get the shots,
and yeah, I saw those shots from.
It looked really nice.
And I was like, "Wow, this looks like a movie."
Yeah, it looks like a movie.
No, Scott, you're totally right though. You're like, yeah, they're waiting to hold anything back from the Eternals until they get that sweet from Academy Award.
Oh yeah,
Chloe Zhao.
Oh yeah.
To go back to Seven Samurai, there's something I didn't expect to be a part of the movie is the muskets, like guns.
Yeah,
and like that, like dude going to like go get one, and it's like he obviously goes away. What's the cool guy, the collected guy? Yeah, he's like, "Fuck it, I'll do it," and runs off, and then comes back a few hours later with one. And I have to assume the scene in Fury Road, George Miller was inspired by that when Mad Max goes off.
Oh my God!
Dude, runs off and then comes back later with like blood on him with all the guns and shit. And I was like, okay, that had to be influenced by that.
I didn't think about that, but yeah,
that
has to be.
Oh my God! See, I haven't seen Fury Road in such a long time. Yeah, I bet that absolutely.
What we really need is a Vimeo Plus series where we follow that guy on those hours
Yeah.
and explain all the mystery.
A 6-part miniseries. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the way Kikuchio like takes it. He's like, he just acts like he's one of the bandits. He's like, hey, leave. And he's
Oh
like,
yeah.
he's
I
like,
do.
"What?"
I do feel like the muskets fired too quickly, and those actually took a long time to reload in real life. But I make that complaint with every movie because I'm from the South and I'm contractually obligated by being born in Arkansas to criticize the gun logic.
Listen, we have Minari now. We're higher class.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
We got
Hey,
Mugen and Minari.
can we appreciate how much man ass was in this movie?
Dude,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a lot of man ass.
A lot of man
There
ass.
was muddy man ass.
Yeah, there's a lot of muddy man ass.
Yeah, oh,
it's great when
yeah.
you can make a movie really serious and like intense when there's just ass showing.
It's like,
everywhere.
yeah, I'm not even laughing at the man ass.
No.
There's almost as much man ass in this as there is Orgasmo, the old Trey Parker Matt Stone movie. That movie's great because they straight up like there's no tits in that movie. It's all man ass. They just bamboozle the audience. They're just like, oh, you
I
want
love that shit. That's
They're
hilarious.
just it's like in the camera, like
Why is ass so funny? I don't know.
it's
That's
so
really funny.
Like
dude,
one of the
I'm-
main characters in this movie is running around with his ass out with like with a top thing of armor basically for like
Yeah,
the last
and like,
third
and
of
a
the
fucking
movie.
like 8-foot long sword. Like
Yeah,
and
it's badass.
It's bad. Yeah, it's a testament to the storytelling that I don't care, and I'm not making
Beautiful.
fun of it.
before we all jokes aside, I was thinking about the kind of the ending of this movie. Before it's like the moment where they're all kind of dying, and the way Kikuchio like dies, it's so not like romanticized. He gets shot and then he's like fuck, and then he's like, I'm not gonna die until I kill you, and then he just
It's fucking sick.
flops over.
It's awesome. It's sick. It's quick. He's not even a real samurai, but he becomes one.
Yeah, I was very surprised that it wasn't this big tragic scene. Wow.
No,
I think the tragedy comes from like just the moment of them looking at the bodies, everyone dead.
I think the tragedy comes from the entire collective tragedy of World War II on the Japanese populace.
That's fair.
And then reflect on that. I'm dead serious.
No, I agree. It's very much about the aftermath of
Yeah.
especially with the scene, like I said at the beginning, where we're talking about that final scene of like, yeah, the village doesn't really give a fuck about you guys dying. Thank you. See you
No,
later.
dude, think of how many soldiers come home from war, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're just like cursed to wander on. Just, like,
especially with the shame of losing in the Imperial Army, you know.
and especially the shame of Kanbei knowing that he was supposed to die that battle. You know, this was like
Which I was fully expecting.
Yeah, this is his whole motivation. It's like, you know what? If I've lived through all these battles and I haven't died yet, maybe this is the one. I'm gonna put it all. This is gonna be the one. You know, this is it. He sees his friends, his comrades, and even someone he grew to respect, they're gone. Crazy.
The people, the 30-year-old men that make the 3-hour Last Jedi rant videos would hate this movie, I think.
Why?
Hey, you know, I was watching the animated Harley Quinn show because I was bored the other day, which actually it's pretty fucking
it's a good show.
hilarious. They have a whole like recurring characters of these incels on the couch. They're just like, who gives a fuck about these women, these Mary Sues, and like they'll wear like the Last Jedi sucks shirts and shit like that.
That's funny.
It's funny.
I don't know, just because like how much of this movie like defied my expectations in like good ways.
Dude, total subversion or subversion of expectations.
Yeah.
Like
simultaneously setting tropes and subverting them.
I know.
Yeah, just like Summer with Monica, directed by what's his name, our boy,
Bergman.
Yeah, Bergman.
We need to do that.
And subverting tropes for coming of age. I recommend that movie to anyone listening.
Just like my boy Brian Johnson with The Last Jedi. You know, establishing and subverting expectations all at the same time.
Okay. Well, you know. But
I had to bring it back around at some point in this podcast.
Okay.
You breathed. I heard people thinking about Star Wars on that side of the Zoom call. I had to say something.
I've been like shitting on like the current state of media this whole podcast. Yet right after this, I'm gonna go watch The Bad Batch. So
May the 4th be with everybody today.
yeah, man.
God damn it! You know how that was a fun little thing on forums, and then Disney found out they co-opted it, and now my mom's posting about it.
National holiday.
Yeah, for real.
Christ.
But by the time you're watching this, it'll probably be Revenge of the Fifth. So
yeah, dude,
enjoy that.
Cinco de Mayo.
So, kind of like final thoughts about the movie, about the everything.
We just gave them.
No, like I want a sentence. I want an ending sentence. Okay.
Good movie.
Yeah, there we go.
Almost as good as Avengers Endgame, but left a lot to be desired.
Not as good
But,
as
no, I just I got a little like worn out by the end of it because it is 3.5 hours, but like
it's an exhausting movie.
It earns everything, so you can't be mad.
I would say, with that being said, if you guys are interested in more Kurosawa, which I hope so, I think you guys should totally watch High and Low. It's not a samurai movie. It's like a domestic thriller drama.
Oh wow, okay.
It's totally different, and it's way shorter. It's like an hour and 50 minutes.
I was thinking about watching, Jimbo or Rashomon, but
I mean, if you're into more samurai shit, I would highly recommend those two also. But if you want something totally different,
yeah, okay,
High and Low, yeah,
okay, cool.
Scott.
Scott, your final
Anything
statement.
To say?
I'm. It's 11:30 and I have work in the morning. That's my final statement.
Damn. All right, Scott is a non-true patrician. We established that.
Scott hates movies. He hates good cinema.
I'm in a different time zone.
Yeah, the NPC time zone. We get it. That's okay. As for the non-NPC time zone, we're cool. We're chilling. We're bulling. Thanks for listening to us talk about Seven Samurai. I'm gonna go watch more Star Wars content. Thanks for watching.